All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive
Yeah.
into some fascinating documentation that we have dug up. And this one is dated the 19th of September, 2024.
Okay.
And it's a presentation, essentially. It's a PDF of a presentation that was given by Globerata. And it looks like they're partnered with AWIN.
I see.
So we're going to kind of take a look at that and see what they're all about. And from what I can tell, they're sort of a Spanish price comparison website, kind of like almost like a CSS.
Yeah.
Which is a comparison shopping service.
Right.
So they make some pretty bold claims in here.
Oh, yeah.
They say that they are the only Spain-based CSS premium partner.
Whoa.
And they have a section in here, which we'll get to later, called red flags, where they kind of lay out some issues perhaps that they've had with clients. It's pretty interesting stuff.
That's always fun to see, kind of what's going on behind the scenes like that. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
You get to see kind of how the sausage is made a little bit, which is always fascinating. So
It is. Yeah, and it gives you a feel for how this particular company operates.
Exactly.
Which is always useful when you're looking at these kinds of presentations, right?
It is.
Because you can get a sense of their style, their
values.
Yeah, their values, exactly.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that jumped out at you when you were going through this?
Well, they really hit hard at the beginning, talking about being a CSS premium partner.
Yeah. Which, I mean, we talked about this before, but for our listeners who don't know,
Sure.
what does that even mean, really?
Right. So being a CSS premium partner is a big deal in the e-commerce advertising world.
Okay.
Essentially, it means that Globerata is a certified partner of major shopping platforms, like you said, Google Shopping, maybe Amazon. And this is huge for advertisers because it means that Globerata's clients, their products, are more likely to be seen by potential customers.
Okay, so it's really about visibility.
Exactly. It's about getting those products in front of the right eyes at the right time.
Gotcha.
And that's what a CSS premium partner can do.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then they go on to talk about their CPA model.
Right, which is another interesting aspect of their pitch. Right, and they make it seem as though it's sort of a no-brainer.
Sure.
Like this is the way to go, CPA all the way.
Right, and you can see why they're emphasizing it, right?
Right.
Because for advertisers, especially those who are new to this, the idea of only paying when someone actually takes action, like buying a product, it's very appealing.
Right, it takes away some of the risk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It minimizes the risk. So you're not wasting money on clicks that don't convert. You're only paying when Globerata delivers results.
Okay, so that's CPA in a nutshell.
That's it. That's the core of it. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a model that can be very effective.
Right.
But of course, like anything else, it's not a magic bullet.
Right.
It depends on a lot of factors. But it's definitely something that advertisers are looking for, that kind of assurance.
And it sounds like Globerata is ready to provide that.
It seems that way, yeah.
Yeah, and then they go on to boast about their success with LG.
Right, which is a big name to drop.
It is.
And it's interesting because they talk about it in the context of this agency called Addict Mobile.
Right, so it seems like it was a kind of a three-way partnership.
It does, and it makes you wonder, how much of that was Globerata's doing versus the agencies.
Right.
But regardless, it's a good case study for them to highlight.
It is, because LG is a huge international brand.
Exact.
So, if they can handle LG, it's like they can handle anything.
That's the implication, right?
Right.
And they even mentioned that they had total freedom with the project, which is an interesting detail.
It is interesting. I wonder what that means exactly.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if they had more control than usual, maybe more creative input.
Right. Maybe they were really given the reins to make it their own.
Exactly. And if that's the case, it speaks to the level of trust that LG had in them.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
Yeah. So it's a smart move on Globerata's part to include that detail.
It is. It gives you a sense of their capabilities.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then they move on to the section about selecting the CSS, which I found really interesting.
Oh, yeah. What do you think about that?
Well, it's almost like they're giving away, trade secrets.
Right.
They're telling potential clients exactly what to look for in a CSS provider.
Yeah. It's a bold strategy, isn't it?
It is because, I mean, on the one hand, it makes them seem very transparent.
Right.
Like they're not afraid to educate their clients.
Sure.
But on the other hand, it's like, are they trying to kind of subtly undermine their competitors?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is.
Because some of the questions they ask are very pointed, you know?
They are.
Like, do they know the local Spanish market?
Well,
Do they have experience with your specific industry?
Mm-hmm.
Do they have the right partnership badges?
Yeah, it's like they're setting up a checklist.
Exactly.
And then, you can't help but think, well, Glaberata probably checks all those boxes.
Right. It's like they're subtly saying, by the way, we do all these things.
Rah.
So it's a clever way to position themselves as the obvious choice, you know?
It is. It's very clever.
Yeah, yeah. And they tie it all back to the bigger picture, too.
Right.
They even mention Google's 2024 antitrust issues,
Right.
which is a subtle reminder of the power dynamics in online advertising.
It is. It is because, Google's always kind of in the news for something.
Always, always.
Yeah.
And it just reminds you that this is a complex landscape.
It is.
And that choosing the right partner can be tricky.
Absolutely.
So it's smart of Glaberata to kind of position themselves as a safe bet.
It is. Yeah, and then they really kind of go out on a limb with this red flag section.
Yeah, tell me about that. That's always my favorite part of these deep dives.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Because it's like they're not afraid to air their dirty laundry a little bit.
Right.
It's very honest in a way.
It is. And, they talk about things like clients canceling sales without a word.
Ouch.
Yeah, not updating their product feeds,
Right.
ignoring emails. I mean, it's like these are all very real problems.
They are, and it gives you a sense of what Glaberata is dealing with on a daily basis.
It does.
And it also, I think, reveals something about their values, right?
How so?
Well, they seem to really value clear communication
Okay.
and proactive engagement.
Right.
They're not afraid to say, hey, if you're not going to communicate with us, it's going to be a problem.
That's true. They're definitely setting expectations.
Exactly.
And they're also, I think, trying to weed out clients who aren't a good fit.
That's a good point. Yeah.
They even talk about clients who drain their budget too quickly.
Right.
Which forces campaigns to stop abruptly.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to avoid those situations.
Exactly. And it makes sense, right?
It does.
Because if a client is mismanaging their budget, it reflects poorly on Glaberata.
Right.
So it's in their best interest to be upfront about these things.
It is. It's about managing expectations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
On both sides.
Right. And I think it also speaks to their kind of hands-on approach.
Yes, absolutely.
They're not just kind of setting up these campaigns and then letting them run wild.
Right.
They're really involved.
It seems that way.
Yeah, which is interesting.
It is, and it makes you wonder, is that typical for CSS providers?
That's a good question.
Or is Glaberata an outlier in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have enough information to say for sure.
We don't.
But it's definitely something to think about.
It is, and it's something that, potential clients should be aware of.
Absolutely.
If you're looking for a hands-off approach, Glaberata might not be the right fit for you.
Right. But if you're looking for a partner who's really going to be in the trenches with you, they might be a good choice.
They might be. So it's all about finding the right fit.
It is. And that's good advice for any kind of business relationship.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we've really kind of unpacked this Glaberata presentation.
Nice, yeah.
Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
I'm so fascinated by how much information you can glean from a document like this.
I know, right?
Just by reading between the lines,
It's like detective work almost.
It is.
Yeah, you really get a sense of the company's culture, their values, their pain points even.
Absolutely. And that's invaluable information, whether you're a potential client, a competitor, or just someone who's interested in this industry.
It is well said. Well, I think that's our show for today.
Sounds good.
Thanks for joining me for another deep dive.
Always a pleasure.
And we'll see you next time.